Hi, and welcome to Coffee Not Found, the podcast for the creative industry and gamification. Completely different now. Dallas Zoo, the breakdancing gorilla.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting one. In 2017, Dallas Zoo released a video of a gorilla playing in like a swimming pool, kind of paddling pool type thing, and he was playing, but he was like spinning around really fast on the spot and like doing all these kind of dance moves. And they released it on YouTube, and the YouTube video isn't the one with the most traction actually. That has today 3 million views, but Bob, I'm going to say hey or ha.
We're going to say both then, so
yeah,
we've covered it.
He's a Star Telegram video producer, and he reposted a 16-second chunk of that video, the main part where the gorilla's dancing, and added the song Maniac to it. So it looked like he was dancing to the song, and that trended pretty quickly, and it has 9.36 million views on his Twitter, and it's still pinned on his Twitter because obviously it's so popular.
Oh, wow.
And I think that his video gave Dallas Zoo a lot of attraction. Everybody kind of wanted to go see this gorilla that could dance to Maniac. But really, it was actually dubbed over it. But it went quite well. Like,
just go and look at him and put headphones on and just listen as if you're listening to Maniac.
Because they do a lot of, their YouTube channel is a lot of behind the scenes footage of animals in the zoo, and they just happened to release it because they thought it was funny. And somebody obviously, every time something goes on the internet, it gets dubbed with a song anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I like that. It went viral, but for a different reason almost, if you know what I mean, like somebody else doing it. Now, I hope the zoo still got some sort of credit for it, haven't done it.
Oh yeah. But sure, even the people all wanted to find out the video where it came from, and not, like, there's still 3 million views on their video of it, and it wasn't even set out as an advertisement. It was just set out as promotional video for their zoo on their YouTube channel.
Yeah,
to keep customers up to date with like new animals and things like that, and it just
dance
took
moves.
Off. And dance moves.
Dance moves. Okay, then the next one is the Volvo trucks one from about 2 years ago, I think, or 3 years ago. It was the Damme.
Yeah.
So with basically, I think it's Enya playing in the background or something like that. And they released it showcasing the line of the trucks with the called Live Test.
Yeah, it was a series of videos called Live Test, where they live tested recording of like what the capabilities of their new line of trucks. And
some of them, were like, so the most popular one was the Epic Split. That was Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits, balancing between two wing mirrors between the two Volvo trucks going in reverse.
Yeah, to show their stability and sort of their accurate reversing or whatever. Obviously, I think you could reverse two trucks at the same time with the same distance between them. You could set that, I think, in the truck, and that's what they were advertising.
I think he did do the splits himself. From what I remember, there was a guide wire in case he went.
Yeah, there was a guide wire, and he did do the splits himself, though. Yeah. It's not a stunt double or anything.
Yeah, and they did manage to get the camera up to him and stuff like that. That to me was the most impressive part. Actually did it, you know. Yeah. And I much prefer those to his Coors Light ads that he does. They're awful. Yeah. So I'll give him credit for this one. They're better. And it was 89 million views for that particular one.
For the views on YouTube for that particular one, I think. It definitely had the most out of them. I think a lot of the other ones are sitting around 15 million, things like that. Sure. And yeah, I can beef it. It's fine. and the other ones were still quite viral, but this one was the biggest one. It's got 89 million now, and I remember reading an article, I think that's about a year old or a couple of months old, and that was at 72 million, so it's still gaining quite a bit of traction. And it aired on TV. I think that's where you seen that. Anyway.
I heard about it being on TV.
Yeah.
And then I went to YouTube because I don't watch it. I'm not watching like tons of TV until I see an ad.
No.
And you were saying like it looks like it was probably the most successful launch film ever made for automotive.
Yeah. It's estimated. I think this figure came from Volvo that it achieved about 126 million euros worth of earned media. So a really decent return on investment, considering the fact that it was one camera, one guy, and two trucks that they own.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was quite a high quality setup and would cost a lot of money for a small business. But in comparison, they said to some of the other advertisement campaigns that they put a whole lot of money into, they put very little compared to those into this one, and I did the best out of all of them.
Cool.
So.
What I found as well with that Volvo ads, because I watched a couple of the other ones, the other one that did quite well was they equipped a Volvo tipper truck with radio control. Did you see that one?
No.
So they equipped it with radio control, and they put together a real life obstacle course with like a swinging cannon or a swinging wrecking ball and like, you know, all these kind of prefabs and stuff around. And then they gave a kid the remote control, and his control, he wasn't great, but my God, he just tore through the course.
Yeah.
But it's great because, I mean, he goes through walls, he gets hit by the wrecking balls, but it keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant that, like, this is the way they advertise. Like, look, it's strong enough to take anything. Yeah. And the amount of cameras they had on it, though, they had some really high quality cameras filming. So you get some great slow-mos hitting barriers and water-filled barrels and stuff. It was, well done, Volvo. I'll give you credit on that campaign. Now, this one, you added this. This is...
Yeah, this is one I got at the end. There was a campaign for Red Nose Day, and it was Coldplay done it in association with Game of Thrones, or HBO. And so it was a 12-minute skit where Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, was trying to come up with a musical for Game of Thrones. And, well, the full video is 12 minutes. There's a lot of chunks because there's different songs that they made for the video, and there's a lot of those kind of in separate videos all over Facebook, because that's where I found it first. And I remember it coming out. It was quite funny. So Chris Martin invited the cast of Game of Thrones to come practice together, and I think as the whole point of the video was, as the video went on, more and more famous people from the cast wanted to come and join. And according to the International Business Times, the campaign helped raise $21 million for Red Nose Day, which is impressive. And the full version on YouTube has 30 million views. And that's not counting all the separate songs that all have more views as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow.
So the songs are basically written for the skit with lyrics based on the characters and incidents that happened to them. Like the Red Wedding, if you watch Game of Thrones, you know them. Like the likes of Kit Harington showed up, and Peter Dinklage, Emilia Clarke, and a lot of famous Game of Thrones people, and they all kind of joined in together to make this video and raise more money and raise more awareness of Red Nose Day existing, which they definitely did. If International Business Times is right, then $21 million.
Yeah, that'll work. That's a lot of money for good causes. Then there were two others that we didn't add to the list, but one was a bad example and one was a good example. And the problem with the bad example is I don't know if you can even still find it. So anyone who works in the office with me knows that, like, my childhood revolved around Penknives and MacGyver and a couple of other standard 80s shows, but that one would be one of the main ones. That's why there's always at least a Leatherman, if not a penknife, in my pocket, except when I'm traveling. But Kangoo vans, was it Renault make them? I can't remember now. But Citroen and Renault did a van commercial, and they brought him back. Oh. And actually, he was driving one of these vans, and he was talking. But, like, it was the typical. Now, like, at this stage, Richard Dean Anderson is in his 60s, I think.
Okay.
And he doesn't need to work these days. He was a producer and acted in Stargate, so he's got enough money. But he comes back and he's filming it and he's narrating to the camera. But there were a couple of problems with it. First one was when they launched it, they narrowed where you could watch it on YouTube to only where they wanted. So if you watched and your IP address wasn't in the UK, I think it was, you couldn't watch it. So it went sort of viral, weird. But when that phase of going viral, when you're supposed to be sharing it, they had narrowed it to just this country. Yeah. Which made no sense, because then you didn't get that epic kind of like scale out. Because if someone in the UK watches it and shares it, what should happen is someone in the US might watch it, or Ireland will watch it, and then they'll share it back, and someone else in the UK, and it bounces back and forth. Because it dead-ended as it exited that particular geography, it didn't happen. And I mean, like,
never heard of people doing that.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are fans of MacGyver, that would have wanted to watch it. The second problem was I did eventually track it down, but I didn't watch the full thing because it was depressing as hell.
Oh, okay. So
it was basically,
right.
well, eventually you have to give up your adventurous lifestyle and settle down and have a family, and you're just like, geez, the poor man. That's not the MacGyver I remember. Like MacGyver, like must have gone to 16 different schools. He was a fucking car racer for a year. You know, like if you look through all the different things in the TV show, like, and it just was completely contrasting with that. And to be fair, it just fell on deaf ears, and I felt so bad because like it had the potential. Because when I heard this, I was like, I have to watch this, and I had to go out of my way and spoof addresses and stuff so I could watch it, which I just thought was silly.
And it was a good choice as well, because a lot of people who would have been buying the vans would have been of age to be buying vans, and they would have seen MacGyver.
Yeah, and to be fair, if it had been a Jeep Wrangler ad, it would have made a lot more sense. Because like to this day, that's my dream kind of vehicle, is to buy a 1979 Jeep Wrangler, but like with a winch on the front. But like, you know, the only problem is like every week you'd bolt something onto it, and then it's not as much use anymore. Yeah. But anyway, we've gone off on this little bit of a tangent. The other ones,
the lights went off for the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's quiet outside. It'll turn back on in a minute. It's Earth Day has gone by, or there you go, back on. It's all good. The last one then was, so there was Super Bowl commercials, and viral videos often go hand in hand. And going back,
we've had a lot of Super Bowl kind of featured stuff. Yeah.
One of the ones that went viral, was a big hit on, shall we say, on Super Bowl's time, but then became an internet kind of hit afterwards. And I actually think there's a couple of years between them. They went up online and they did okay, and then they had a resurgence. And they were, I don't know if you ever saw The Office Linebacker. You know, is it Terry Tate? It's just brilliant because he's there like
that kind of motivational speech.
Oh yeah, well, it's not motivational though. He's there as a linebacker. He's rigged out as a linebacker, and he's there. And the guy comes in, say for example, and he's made a cup of coffee, and it runs out. And he just sticks it in. And goes, I don't care, and he sticks it in, and he walks out, and he literally walks out the door, and you just hear, poof, and like your man gets tackled and brought down. Okay. Another one was the guy. He didn't put the can into recycling, he put it into normal. And he's like, you know, every so often they're interviewing him in the background. He goes, you know, sometimes it's not about the physical, it's about the mind games. And he goes up and he's like, you know, he's running on the spot and he's going like, pain train's coming. And your man's rooting through the thing, and he gets the can and he puts it into recycling. He's like, it's okay, I'm done. And your man's in tears, and Terry's like, you know, and walks on. Yeah. It's just, but there was I think there's about 7 or 8 videos. Like there's Terry Tate goes on vacation.
I didn't even know this one existed.
Yeah. No, they're amazing. The Terry Tate goes on vacation, the draft, and they draft in another fella. Oh. Okay. So there's a competition between them. But eventually, your man ends up going to the European leagues, as they call it. Like it really is just fantastic. But it's all for Reebok.
Oh.
And like, you know, they were just, it would just be an office environment. He'd be wearing a rugby gear, but that's it. And at the very end, it would just be like Reebok. And it was brilliant. So definitely ones to link to as well. Or link to one and then follow the rabbit hole down for the rest.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I think that's us done.
Yeah, we're coming up on 26 minutes, so there might even be 2 episodes in this for all we know.
In which case, we'll have to have done the second introduction, but we'll be fine. We'll work that out. Yeah. So, welcome to Coffee Not Family. Episode 3 of Viral Advertising. Cool. Excellent. Well, that's viral advertising kind of covered off. I'm sure we'll be back to it again with the next batch of stuff at some stage.
We'll come across something we really want to talk about.
We're back.
To finish.
Okay, so learning outcomes for this. Obviously, you can't predict viral. You can never account for what's going to happen on the day you launch something. But definitely don't limit it to a geographic location.
Don't limit IPs.
So silly. Do make it something funny and engaging, or all the alternative, emotional and heart-wrenching, depending on what your marketing message is.
Yeah.
If it's just sensible or informative, like this podcast, it's probably not going to go viral. But if you can kind of make it fun and, just laugh out loud. Like, I mean, those Poopery, Linebacker, Dollar Shape, I mean, they're all just really good, engaging, funny videos. Or the alternative then is the heart-wrenching one. So there was the one that you shared there. There is another one, but I won't give it away because if we do a third episode, I want to have the third episode.
Right.
So basically there are things you can do. You can't predict viral, but there are certain metrics. Cool. All right. That's us. You can find us at coffeenotfound.com, at CoffeeNF on Twitter, at CoffeeNF Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. They're the ones I remember. There are probably others. We're on YouTube, obviously. Coffee NF.
Yeah, just Coffee Not Found.
Coffee Not Found. Oh, we got that one. And that's us. This has been Coffee Not Found in association with Nebula Innovations. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.